Sagittarius, you won't believe this. An ex-lover, someone you thought had left, someone you believed had forgotten you, was silently holding on to a photo of you and brought it to a witch, not to destroy you, but to call you back, by any means necessary. But what they didn't know is that this very act accidentally triggered a chain reaction they could no longer control. And what happened next will shock you. Not just because of the betrayal, but because you'll realize your soul is far stronger than they ever imagined. If you are a Sagittarius, sit down. This energy only arrives when your soul is ready to hear the truth. Don't forget to leave a comment if you've ever felt like someone was holding you with something you couldn't see. And if you feel the need to protect your energy, I've left a small gift for you in the description below. Now, listen carefully, because what comes next will show you exactly who's been reaching for your field without your permission. I don't know if you've ever felt this, but there are moments in life when you suddenly feel drained, and you can't quite explain why. As if someone is thinking about you a little too intensely, or worse, trying to hold you from a place you cannot even see. And the saddest part is, sometimes the one doing that is the very person who once said they loved you. Your ex? The one you forgave with everything in your heart, the one who left you with a detachment so cold it carved through your spirit, might now be quietly doing something you know absolutely nothing about, not to come back with an apology, not to heal, but to keep you. In a way that defies explanation. No touch was needed, just a photo. You know, I used to think all these things, magic, energy manipulation, invisible rituals, were just symbols. Until I looked into the vacant eyes of a friend. Someone who was no longer herself, all because of a ritual she never even knew she had taken part in. Until I witnessed someone, just by handing over a photo to someone who knew how to speak to energy, create an invisible thread that suffocated another person's emotions for months. That person was a Sagittarius. And she had no idea why her heart felt heavy, why her anxiety grew, why her sleep shattered into fragments, why her feelings didn't feel like her own anymore. Until the truth came out. A photo of her, taken from behind as she stood before an ancient temple, had been sent to the hands of a woman who worked with symbols and intention. There were no flickering lights, no chants in the air, just an intention sent out, and a person drawn into a game they never agreed to play. I know what you're thinking. No one can control me unless I allow it. And you're right. But there's a fragile space between your conscious will and your deeper unconscious. And not everyone can protect that space. That's where things like this can find their way in. You loved them with everything sincere in your heart. And yes, they left. But they left without ever letting go. They still hold on to you, not through love, but through obsession disguised as silence. And the scariest part is not that they manipulated you. It's that they handed over a part of your image to someone else. Someone who knew how to hold your name, to speak it in the dark, to try and call your soul back. And in that moment, a ritual took place, one you never consented to, an invisible exchange, and the one being called had no idea it was happening. But here's what you need to know, and why you might have been feeling strange vibrations lately. Because whenever someone tries to lock you into a shape with their intention, through an image, a dream, or a desperate desire to control, your energy field will always respond. And if you're a Sagittarius, that response is unlike any other sign. Sagittarius carries within them a sacred flame that cannot be held for long. You can cage their body in a relationship, but you will never contain their soul. And that's why those who try to pull you back end up awakening the most powerful rebirth inside of you. Instead of being manipulated, you become clear. You see exactly what no longer belongs. You begin to step out of the loops that once held you captive, not out of anger, but because you've awakened. I've always believed this. The thing you can't control is not always the thing that will destroy you. Sometimes it's the beginning of a massive return to who you really are. So if, lately, you felt your emotions swing from collapse to clarity, it's not chaos. It's your soul breaking free from something you didn't even know was holding you down. You may not remember the moment someone whispered your name, but your body, your intuition, your eyes, they remember. If there's anything in this story that sent chills through you, don't stay silent. Leave a comment. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be true. Because who knows, the story you share might be the breakthrough someone else needs. Someone who's also being held and doesn't understand why. And if you feel like your energy needs protection, we've left a small gift in the description. 15 simple rituals designed to help you realign your energetic field and call back the light that's always been yours. Download it, use it, and watch the shift unfold. But wait, don't think this journey is over just yet. Because in the next part, you'll come to understand how your unconscious refusal became the very backlash that the one trying to control you never expected. And why your silence has become the loudest sound they have ever heard. There's a secret that hasn't yet been revealed. It's coming. Don't go anywhere. There's something many people never truly understand about Sagittarius. You don't walk away out of selfishness. You walk away because your soul can no longer stay in a space where truth is no longer honored. You don't rush toward endings. You simply cannot keep living in a space where love has become a transaction, where freedom has to be paid for with silence. I've seen many Sagittarians turn their back, not because they stopped loving, but because they would rather carry the wound than wear the mask. You know this deep down. No one can own your soul. No one can cage the light that was born to blaze trails. And that's why every ritual, every intention sent to manipulate you failed. You don't need to protect yourself with claws or thorns. You only need silence. And that silence is enough to shake the world around you. The silence of a Sagittarius is not a void, it's a quiet storm. A noble response so powerful it forces others to face themselves. The one who tried to hold on to you never understood that. You are not angry. You are not bitter. You simply changed. There's a life lesson I want to share. And if you're hearing this right now, perhaps it's meant for you. Some relationships don't end with goodbye. They end with awakening. When someone tries to hold you back with darkness, what they don't see coming is the light inside you becomes brighter than ever before. You may have once loved them with all the innocence and honesty in your heart, but now you are learning to love yourself with maturity and compassion. And that changes everything. I'm not saying this to comfort you. I'm saying it because I know your soul is rebuilding. I can feel it in every breath you take, every dream you wake from, every time you realize you no longer feel heavy. You're coming back. But not as who you used to be. You're returning as someone no one will ever be able to control again. In astrology, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of knowledge, expansion, and truth. You didn't come into this world to be bound. You came to break boundaries. Not just physical boundaries, but emotional ones, mental ones. The boundaries others try to build around your soul. Once you begin to ask questions, you can never be deceived again. Once you see the truth, you'll never trade your light for someone else's attention. And you've seen it, haven't you? You've seen the look in their eyes when they could no longer control you. You felt the anxiety in their energy when you no longer responded the way they expected. That was the sign. You've walked through a doorway. There's a metaphor I love deeply. Sagittarius is the one who steps into the maze, not to get lost, but to lead their soul back into the light. And the magic is, you don't need a map, you have instinct. Every Sagittarius carries within them an ancient compass, but it only activates when you are still enough to hear it. And I believe you're starting to hear that call again. Take a moment. Breathe deeply. You no longer belong to the past, and the past no longer holds you. If what you've been through made you doubt yourself, then the peace you're feeling now is the universe answering back. Tell me, have you ever felt like someone was trying to pull you back without your permission? Write it in the comments, because you might not just be speaking your truth, you might be helping another soul find their way back home. You are Sagittarius. You are fire. You are a messenger. You are the light of what others are still too afraid to name. No one can hold you back if you've already chosen to move forward. No ritual can hold your heart if you've already placed it in the hands of the universe. And right now, the universe is waiting for you to step into the next part of your journey. Here's a question to carry with you before we move forward. If you no longer had to protect your heart, how would you begin to live? In the next part, you'll see what happens when the one who once tried to control you falls into the very trap they set for you, and why Your silence became the loudest alarm in their mind. You didn't seek revenge, you didn't fight back, you simply stood still, in your light, and that, more than anything, is what they could not bear. Stay here, because the most powerful moment hasn't been revealed yet. Some things happen that the sender never saw coming. Just because someone tries to interfere with your energy doesn't mean they have the right to possess it. And your ex completely misjudged that truth. He didn't realize that every soul has an invisible immune system. And your soul, a Sagittarius soul, holds a kind of energy that no one can tame. From the moment your photo was sent, from the instant your name was spoken in a space you didn't belong to, something started to move. At first, he didn't notice. He still believed he was orchestrating everything. He thought you'd come back, confused, disoriented, maybe even initiate contact again. But what happened was the exact opposite. You didn't call, you didn't dream of him, you didn't react the way he expected. Instead, you became still, and that stillness made him uneasy. Then things began, not from the outside, but from deep within him. He felt tired for no clear reason. His sleep broke apart with strange dreams of you. But not the version of you he remembered. You were there, but you didn't smile. You turned away, as if you already knew everything, as if your soul had gone so far nothing could ever reach it again. Then the anxiety began to rise. Not the kind with a name, the kind that lives under the skin, a quiet crack beginning to split the stone. And then he woke in the middle of the night, heart racing, chest tight, with no idea why. You didn't have to do anything. By simply not responding, you sent a signal louder than words. My soul is no longer there. And that was the most powerful refusal he had ever received. Your energy, instead of being pulled in, bounced back like a sudden recoil. Not because you attacked, but because your energy field refused the connection. And when someone tries to touch you in the wrong way, they end up touching the darkest parts of themselves. And that darkness starts to consume them. He began noticing the smallest signs: sleepless nights, canceled appointments, supporters growing distant, plans that no longer worked. It was as if everything was slowly slipping through his fingers. No explosion, no disaster, just a series of small disruptions, enough to fracture the rhythm of his once stable mind. You didn't send anything back. You just stopped opening the door. And sometimes a door that never opens is the heaviest judgment of all. In that silence, he began to remember the words he said to you, the hurt he caused, the times he denied your love, the way you once looked at him, now reduced to a flicker in his memory. And from memory, it turned into obsession. But here's something you need to know. You're not bound, which means you don't need revenge. This reaction wasn't because you fought back. It was because your soul responded with wholeness, and when you return to yourself, all distorted energy around you has nowhere left to cling. That alone begins to dissolve everything no longer aligned with you. I've always believed this. Not everyone who does wrong gets punished right away, but every act that goes against the soul leaves a consequence inside the one who sent it. And now, he is living in that consequence. No one had to tell him. No one needed to warn him. Only the emptiness you left behind quietly became the sentence he now faces each day. If you've ever believed you had to respond, that you had to do something to get even, let that thought go, because the truth is, your soul already did it for you. You are protected, and you are no longer entangled. Leave a sign below if any part of this felt like your story, not to relive the pain, but to acknowledge a victory. A quiet victory you achieved without making a sound. Because sometimes true liberation arrives in silence. And now that you've been released, now that the backlash has happened, now that he's sinking into the shadow he created, you begin to feel something else. A flicker, a new stirring inside, a surge of life returning. And in the next part, we'll witness your flame ignite once more. Not a light someone gives you, but the original fire that never went out. The moment he handed over your image, something began to unravel. But it wasn't you. It was the false world he had built his beliefs upon. That photo, which seemed like nothing more than an object, carried your imprint. A frozen moment, a gaze once full of life, a version of you he believed he could still summon back, and he gave it to someone else. A woman who worked with energy, ritual, and symbol. someone who believed she could intervene, call your name without permission from your soul. But what they didn't know was this: you're no longer the person in that photograph. You've changed. And that change was the very thing that caused the magic to fail from the beginning. The woman who received your photo did not see a victim. She didn't feel easy energy to manipulate. What she sensed instead was a blazing light, a field of protection that could not be pierced. A whisper echoed clearly through the space where she worked. She does not give permission. You didn't need to be there. You didn't need to say a word. Your energy field responded on its own, with unmistakable resistance. And that alone brought the entire ritual to a halt before it could even begin. She placed her hand on the image of you, but the energy didn't move. There was no response, no connection, only a heaviness, as if she had touched a door that had been sealed shut. And then a vision appeared. A silver-haired woman, frail, luminous skin with small hands, placing your name into a clay jar. She covered it with dried leaves, sealed it with salt, poured honey over the top, and whispered, "Not to this world, but to something beyond. Do not touch her unless you have permission from heaven." In that exact moment, the woman performing the ritual knew she had crossed a boundary no one was meant to cross. And so, she said nothing. She did not continue. She sent no message back. She didn't reply to the man who had hired her. She simply closed the altar in silence. Because she knew she had just encountered a soul that could not be manipulated. And your ex still believed the ritual had gone through. He had no idea. He still thought you would dream of him, call him, return in confusion. But instead, everything inside him began to collapse. The letter didn't go through. The intention was returned, and the only thing he received was the echo of his own action. You didn't need to strike back. You didn't need to punish, because the nature of light is not to retaliate, but to shine and then quietly withdraw from where it no longer belongs. And in this case, your light did exactly that. Then he began to dream, but not sweet dreams. They were memories that had never healed. Moments where you went quiet from pain, words he spoke that cut like blades, but he didn't notice at the time. Now all of it returned, not so he could fix it, but so he could understand. He has lost you forever. You appeared in his dream, but not to hold him. Not to ask why, but to say goodbye, because your soul was already gone. And that was the one thing he was never prepared for. He never expected that one small act, handing your photo to someone else, would become the final push that freed you completely. No more threads, no more tethers. You're no longer there. You have become a light he can't look into. You don't need to say anything else. You don't need to explain, because that spell failed. Not due to lack of power, but because it was used on the wrong soul. You're no longer someone who can be summoned back. You are someone who was chosen to never be summoned again. If you've ever doubted it, now is the time to know for sure. You weren't imagining it. You have been protected, and that spell never touched you. Share this if you've ever felt like someone was trying to hold on to you with something unseen. Because maybe your truth is the mirror another soul needs to finally see their own. And when every ritual has failed, when every attempt at manipulation has dissolved, what happens to a soul that has finally been set free? In the next part, we'll step into rebirth, a fire reignited from within you, not lit by anyone else, not given, just your own life force returning, brighter than ever before. Be ready for what's coming next. There is something you must know before this journey comes to a close. No one can touch you unless your soul allows it. And even if you were once unclear, once soft-hearted, once opened your heart to those who didn't deserve it, that too was part of the journey to come home to yourself. No one survives this life without being wounded at least once. No one grows up without having let someone touch their soul the wrong way. Sagittarius, I know you're tired. You once believed that love was reason enough to bend all your boundaries. You once thought that if you were generous, patient, forgiving enough, they would finally see your worth. But now you know. Not everyone understands light. Not everyone deserves the freedom you carry. And most of all, not every loss is a tragedy. Some things leave, so you no longer have to keep holding the weight. Some doors close, so you don't keep walking down the wrong path. And some truths arrive late, but just in time to free the part of your soul that's been quietly bound for years. If you're here right now, listening to these words, it's not by accident. Maybe you've just come out of a season full of doubt. Maybe you're in a quiet space where nothing is quite clear, but you feel lighter. That's the sign. You're not getting weaker. You're just letting go of what no longer belongs to you. I know it's not easy to let go of something you still love. It's not easy to forgive someone who once placed their hands on you. Not with care, but with control. But Sagittarius, you were not born to be bound. You didn't come here to live small, to shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectation. You are light in motion, a soul carrying the promise of expansion, a symbol of truth that refuses to bend. And when you walk away, you're not abandoning anyone. You're simply keeping a promise to yourself. If someone ever used your name, your image, or whispered for your soul in the dark in an attempt to pull you back, please believe this. You've already made it through. You don't need revenge. You don't need proof. Your existence on its own is a voice, and the universe has heard it loud and clear. If this feels like the journey you've just lived through, don't stay silent. Leave a few words in the comments. It doesn't need to be long. Just let it be true. Because your story might be the light someone else needs while they're still lost in the dark, just as you once were. And if you're looking for a way to restore your energy on your own, we've left a small companion guide in the description below. Simple rituals, gentle, unbound by religion or belief. Purely reminders to help you remember the strength that was always yours. You don't need anyone to save you. You just need to return to the place where your soul has been waiting all along. And before you go, I want you to take one deep breath, listen to the space around you, and ask yourself, if no one else was trying to manipulate my energy, how would I live as the free being I already am? Sagittarius, you are not a victim. You are the living proof that light, once awakened, can never be contained again. And from the moment you realize that, everything changed. You're no longer being called back. You've chosen yourself, and that is the deepest curse on those who once believed they could own you. I'll see you in the next video, where you'll uncover something even you may not be ready to admit just yet. Keep going, because the sky has always belonged to you.